not being shown or being told of your fabulousness. You have to find it within yourself.
Yes, definitely.
In some way, don't you?
And come to the realisation that the job isn't what makes you fabulous.
No. Yeah. And that, if that is how we, I guess, reflect on who we are, that can be taken like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that in any kind of change that is enforced upon us, that is not driven, that we often have a moment where we stop and we think, oh, yeah, so this is actually happening. Yeah. And what do I do next?
Yeah. And haven't really given it any thought because it's so, you just don't even foresee it happening.
It's kind of in the background. So as a flight attendant, I imagine, like if I think about a school teacher, right? What's the role of a school teacher? A school teacher is to educate children. A school teacher does a lot more than that. As a flight attendant, what's your role? Your role is to be to provide, I guess, support, to make sure people are comfortable on the flight. But what did you, perhaps you don't have to share examples, but I imagine there were times when you were perhaps supporting somebody that was struggling with mental health, somebody that was perhaps visiting a dying loved one overseas, or was going home or visiting somewhere for a funeral. Like, did you have many incidents like that?
Yes. Over the years I flew, I've had many, many instances. I've had instances where actually one of my friends contacted me who doesn't fly and said, look, my sister and brother-in-law are on your flight and they're going because their son's just been killed in a motorbike accident in Bangkok, and they're going to get on your plane in Sydney, and can you look after them? So as soon as I went up to them and I said, hi, I'm Paula, I'm Barb's friend, they just hugged me and cried, and it was just, and it was like, you don't even know these people, but you get involved. I'm sorry. And I've had a man have a heart attack and his wife's there and he's, might die. And so you're not only having to deal with doing CPR and trying to bring someone back to life, you've also got somebody there who's watching this person they love about to die, and then you're trying to support them as well as the crew who are then afterwards, you do it and you get through it because you just go straight into, I have to say, the thing Qantas has given me is just an impeccable way of dealing with crises as they happen, that we just go straight into this whole mode. It just gets done. And then you go, wow, I didn't realise I was capable of that. But the training we've had over the years has just put us in that position that it just becomes robotic, but you just know what to do. But afterwards you sort of like go, wow, okay, and that's when you come down, and that's when you might have some tears and you might, need to debrief. And for years at the beginning of my flying, they didn't even see that as a necessity, that you needed to debrief and that you would have people calling you when you're in your hotel room all by yourself to say, are you okay? That has come of recent times, which is fantastic, because people didn't know who to go to or what to do. And for instance, years and years ago, I had a passenger getting on in London, and he was a little old man with his well-dressed in his hat and everything, and he was telling me that his family had just paid for him to come to Australia to watch all the test matches between England and Australia, and that was what they'd paid for him for his birthday, and he was so excited about coming. So I'd already had this conversation with him. We hadn't even taken off yet. I'd given him a juice. I was working down in economy at the time, and we're just having the chat, and it was beautiful. I was really thrilled for him, and, back on my merry way, having to, help out all the other hundreds of people on board. And the next minute he gets up while we're on taxi and goes to go to the toilet, and he has a heart attack and he died.
Wow.
So I was about to start CPR and a doctor came up and said, I'll take over. And I went, thank you so much. But I had to ring the flight deck, get them to stop the aircraft and yell out to another crew member, ring a certain number to get all crew on the phone, and so that they could stop the aircraft taking off. And then the paramedics took off this man, and still to this day I get so upset thinking about him. But he still had the thrill of thinking he was coming over. So if that's a way to go, that's better than sitting in your room on your own wishing you'd done it. What have you learned about supporting people in crisis? Listening, letting them just get it all out. I think the first thing you want to do is say something to make it different, but you can't. I've realised that over the years. You can't, there's nothing you can do or say that's going to change the situation. But listening to them and letting it out, I guess. but also helping them maybe touching base later. At first, everybody needs to get through it, maybe whatever they need to do. But later on, not letting them know that they're still alone in it.
Yeah.
That touching base, maybe a few weeks later or every so often, just to see how they're doing, to let them know that you're still thinking of them or if there's anything you can do. But I think one of the major things is, if people don't know what to do, say, let's go for like getting out in nature, like being active, not just sitting and wallowing in it. I think any of my friends, I go, come on, let's go, let's do this. Let's go for a swim. Let's go for a paddleboard. Let's go for a surf. Let's do something that makes you have to think about what you're doing, firstly, to get your mind off what you're trying to escape from.
So being in the moment.
Being in the moment. And that's what I try and do for my own self-preservation.
Yeah.
Is I try to do activities that will make me do that.